Well, my profiteers, the government is at it again. Manipulation is happening as the market is going up, which we love. But as I told you guys, the last 4 months of an election year, very, very good for the stock market. And the government right now is pumping money into the system so we can make some gains in the market. So today we're going to talk about what stocks to look at and why the market, even though it's fears of a recession, is going up right now because of the pump that the government's doing to make sure that they stay elected. Before we get started though, as always, like, subscribe, share to our channel as we continue to grow. You know I'm here to give information on these YouTube streets. I give information, but in real life, I am a board certified financial planner, managed over $250 million in assets, have 1,000 clients nationwide. But I woke up this morning, that's a blessing by itself. But it's also a blessing. The market for 7 straight days have went up. Almost a record. 8 days is a record for the S&P 500. Let's see what happens tomorrow. We're going to talk about why the government is throwing our money into the system so we can invest it. But let's see how that's going to help us investors. Lego.
Off to the races. Let's first kind of talk about some things that have started to normalize. We were talking a lot about the chart earlier. We've totally recouped the August loss. Have we seen some of the liquidity and some of the stuff we've been monitoring?
That's crazy because, yes, the first week of August, horrible. We had the Japanese yen trade, right? The unwinding of the trade. But man, 3 weeks later, we look, it's like nothing happened. Now, we're not back at all-time highs, about 5% away. But man, these last 3 weeks, crazy.
Yeah, definitely. We have seen liquidity coming back into the market. If we actually utilize the E-mini S&P futures, the depth of market basically from the CME, you can actually see that we're pretty much back at levels that we saw back in July 24th. Now, around that time, we did have a little bit of a pullback in the market, which is why we actually saw that drawdown to the downside here. But traditionally, we were sitting around these levels, around 45 contracts on the bid, 45 contracts on the ask for the
Now, liquidity. Liquidity means how much money is invested in something, right? Liquid. So the more money that's in the system from a financial standpoint, the more people will spend. Like anything, the more money you have, the more money you're going to spend. If you got $1,000 in your bank account, you probably won't spend as much compared to if you had $10,000 in your bank account. If you got $10,000 in your bank account, you probably won't spend as much if you had $100,000 in your bank account. So the more money is pumped into the system by the federal government, the more we invest, the more people invest, and big institutions invest, the more the stock market goes up.
And right now, the spreads are looking really healthy, really small spreads that are out there, very large book depth that's out there right now. So the market can actually absorb these downside moves or even the upside moves for that in that nature here. And so we'll kind of talk about this moving forward, but you could have actually a little bit more of a squeeze type of scenario here taking place where you have dealers actually buying more futures contracts, and that buying activity will then also strengthen that book depth even more, potentially going into the close here.
So what that means is, even if the market goes down, even if we have sellers or even large institutions who sell their investments, it's so much money in the system is not going to bring down the market as much as if we had less money. Because again, the other players in the world, they're going to buy the dip, right? So if bad news happens, if Nvidia comes out next week and has bad data, which I do not think is going to happen, then that means that because we have liquidity, money in the system, we have large institutions buying the dip that'll slow down or stop the market going down and will increase the market going up, right? Consolidation. We consolidate and then we shoot up, right? They call that a falling wedge for y'all technical analysis out there.
All right, so strength begets kind of more strength and stability. I love that chart as it kind of shows how we really got pinched in there. That's a fun way to look at it. So, all right.
But we're going to also go over one more chart and why I think this chart shows you why the federal government is playing sides. Pick a side, pick a side. Nicki Minaj, in my opinion, the best, the greatest female rapper. Pick a side, pick a side. And the federal government's picking a side. And that side is we want to keep our jobs. We are the bureaucrats. We don't get elected. We get appointed. And we want those appointments to stay. And they are slowly but surely boosting up the economy. And here's why. Global Liquidity Index. And as we can see, my profiteers, we have global liquidity and long-term cycle. And historically what happens is that the cycle, right? This is the market. This is what the market does, right? The cycle of the market. Cycle of the market, right? Cycle of the market. High means that we're up. Down means that the cycle is down, right? So the liquidity is usually a lagging. It lags behind, right? And you have what you call correlation. Correlation is that when things are equal. If you have a one correlation, that means you're opposite, like gold and silver, right? A high correlation like 95, 90, 99 is when you're almost aligned together, right? Like lab diamonds, mesonoid. Not the same, but kind of the same, right? But a lab diamond and copper, totally different, not correlated at all. So as we can see the correlation here, cycle here, up, cycles up, here, here, right? So as we can see, the more liquidity we have, the higher. Less liquidity, the lower, right? And this has been going on since 2000, from the 99s to the 2000s. So this gives us a nice size, not as much here. But again, we had 2017. Look at that spike. All the way to 2020. And we know what happened there. So COVID, right? Pew, right? But look what has happened. And look how quick that spiked up. Boom, right? But now, the cycle. And now look, it's lagging because of COVID, it's lagging. But as we can see, that money is being pumped. Pumped. The long-term cycle in 2024 is up. What has not happened is that the liquidity has not been pumped as much, but it slowly but surely is being pumped up. So what happens is that as it pumps, right, it stalls or slows down the downturn of the cycle. So again, we're lagging right now. So all the predictors out there is like once we continue to pump money in the system as we have, then we are going to have a nice run up by the end of the year. So my profiteers, the government pump it up, in the words of Joe Budden, put money into the system. And this exchange traded fund, this index fund is something we can take advantage of because we don't know what stock is going to pump. We know if all stocks are going to go up, potentially. Why should we not take advantage of the ones that have not made as much money? Let's go to the charts. And my profiteers, symbol IWM. It's an index fund. It's tied to the Russell 2000. Now, it has not went up as much as the market over the past few years, right? We look at the NASDAQ, for instance. The NASDAQ. And we look at the NASDAQ really over the past. And we'll actually look 2000 and a 99 to the 2000s, right? So we see here, right? NASDAQ, right? Basically up 80, my bad, up 100% in 4 years. Pretty good. S&P 500. As we can see, since 2020, S&P 500 since 2020 at 93%, so almost as good as a NASDAQ. But the Russell, my profiteers, not nearly as much. And this is why they're pumping money to the system, and I believe this thing is going to rocket compared to the market. So again, right, up as high was 63%. Now is at 48%. NASDAQ up by 100. This up by 48. S&P up by 90. This is up by 48. So this has done half of what the market did. Now, 48% in 4 years, pretty good. Well, 4.5 years, that's basically 9% a year. Pretty good with another half a year to go. But as the liquidity hits and as there's going to be more money into the system, the stocks that have not really grown, and the Russell 2000 is the top 2,000 companies in America, mostly small caps, the companies that have not grown, when it's more gas on the fire, more oil in the car, I believe This index over the next 5 months will outperform the S&P 500, will outperform the NASDAQ. Because of that reason, I would say, not advice, just information, you want to look out for the IWM because this is something that can explode as the government keeps on putting money into the system. So my profiteers, what do you guys think? You think that the government's going to continue to pump money to the system, or you think they're going to let things go by the wayside? We know what they're going to do. But comment below, good idea, bad idea, and let me know what investments you're in. And also subscribe to our Patreon at Paying for Profits. We give a lot of good information from an investment standpoint. I am a certified financial planner, so we go over financial planning tips and ways we can balance our budget and get to the bag. Anyways, though, do your research and love is love. But let's make some Paying for Profits together, y'all. Peace.
Tired of making no money mistakes. Make a payment on your bills and you still late. Yeah, pay for profits to help you seek change. And you just wanna get paid. Yeah, tired of making no money mistakes. Make a payment on your bills and you still late. Pay for profits to help you seek change. Yeah, cut the show and just listen. You wanna feel empowered by making money decisions. Residual by the hours can get you a better living. Been check to check, you knowing it could be different. You know.